Yes, if this isn't your first time, welcome. If this is your, if this is your first time, welcome. If this is not your first time, welcome back. It's a No Bullshit Podcast. It's Kai.
Yo, it's Conklin.
Listen, man, we back at it with another video with these playoffs, man. Now we're on to round two, right?
hmm
So we're gonna talk about how those round one series kind of finished up. We'll talk about some of the round two games that have gone on so far, and we'll give you guys our predictions as to what will happen in round two. So without further ado, let's just start it off with the Timberwolves Nuggets, man. Game one.
Yeah, talking about a very much anticipated game, man. Because I think out of all of the round two anticipated matchups, uh, the Nuggets and the Wolves were just the one that everybody just got a key on because that's going to be a dogfight. And seeing what Game One has shown us, it was a dogfight, man. You got Ant, a rising, up and coming, and probably people might even say he is already a superstar right now, right? And he put up a crazy stat line. He had 43 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, but then also doing on defensive end, 1 steal, 2 blocks, but also just playing hard defense, creating having Jamal Murray, having, Michael Porter Jr., and at times Jokic to try to make difficult shots, right? And then, obviously got Jokic on the other end, 32 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, but I think the key point of this game and where the Wolves won was I guess from the Nuggets point of view is that Jokic had 7 turnovers, man. 7 turnovers. You could tell that I think coming in the series, we kind of briefly talked about it in our last pod, where we knew that the Wolves, out of all teams, they had the ability to match up pretty well with the Nuggets because they have 3 centers that are capable of just throwing bodies and just working Jokic the whole night, right? And that is Rudy Gobert, Cat, and Nas Reed, 6 man of the year, right? And so it showed. It definitely showed. The Nuggets, the Timberwolves rather, they came with a game plan showing we're gonna make everything hard on Jokic and stop the rest, right? And from that game plan, they did pretty well with that, right? And along with the turnovers, right? I think we all know Kai. He's a man of stats, right? Women lie, but stats don't, right? And so you see, I got this crazy stat here when the turnover differential. The Timberwolves, they had 2 more turnovers. They had 14. The turnover ratio was 14-12. But here's the thing: out of those turnovers, the Timberwolves they converted to 26 points, but the Nuggets they only converted to 18 points. So when you see the game where the Nuggets they lost by 7 points, and that from that differential there, that's 8 points.
Yep.
So it's very difficult from that standpoint of just all turnovers in general, right? And so as you get deeper to the playoffs, the turnover margin and just the mistakes you make gets smaller, smaller, and smaller because everything impacts the game. No matter
Hmm.
this literally from tip off to the end of the game, every play matters, right? This is why it's the playoffs. It's win or go home, right? And with the Wolves, Ant came in with a with a certain mentality where it's like
Hmm.
they got me last year. Nah, I want it this year. And this is honestly this is the shit that I love from basketball, where it's it's just a back and forth between two hard fighting teams, and shout out to the Nuggets and Wolves, right? What better way to start the second round of playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely, right. Like you said, I'm a man of stats, so I'll give you the rundown. So, final score: Minnesota wins 106-99. Ant 43 points, seven rebounds, 3 stocks, like you said. Cat 20 points. Mike Conley 14 points, 10 assists. He shot 3 for 4 from the 3 point line. Nas Reed off the bench in 23 minutes gave him 16 points. On the opposite side, Jokic 32 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Shot 11 for 25 from the field, 2 for 9 from three. And then, like you said, to go along with those seven turnovers, not the best game that we come to see from Jokic. Michael Porter Jr. 20 points, 6 rebounds, shot 6 for 13. Jamal Murray 17 point shot 6 for 14. As you can see by the final score, this was a very close game. It was a lot of back and forth, and it really came down to
Hmm.
some really clutch buckets at the end to really put the game away. But I feel like this series is just going to come down to the superstars being superstars, right? Um, you're not going to be able to get out of this series with Jamal Murray giving you 17. That's just the
Yeah.
reality of it. He has to be playoff Murray in order for him to get past this team because the Timberwolves, like you just said, they're hungry, man. And like you said, they match up well. They're one of the best defenses in the entire association. So you're gonna need some tough buckets for Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. In my opinion, this series is gonna come down to those two. If Minnesota is able to limit those two, they're gonna get out of here in this series with a W. If Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are able to really put pressure on that defense in terms of their outside shooting, I feel like it's not much you can do, right? Because Jokic is gonna do his thing. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Yes, Minnesota matches up well, right? With the like you said, the three centers, they can throw bodies at them, kind of similar to like what Dwight Howard has been saying about
Yeah.
I believe it was the 2020 Lakers. They were able
Hmm.
to throw three big bodies at him, and it does affect his game as you saw. But Jokic is always going to get his. The great players
Yeah.
always get theirs. But the question is, what are the others going to do, right? And you saw
Hmm.
it on the opposite side. And yes, he had 43, but Cat gave him 20. Mike Conley double double, 16 points from Nas Reed off the bench.
Hmm.
That is the difference between winning and losing, right? Game two, um, Rudy Gobert is reportedly going to be out for that game, right? So this
Hmm.
would be very, with personal reasons. So this would be a very important game, right? The Nuggets have to get out of uh, game two with a W and tie the series up, right? Because not only if the Timberwolves are able to win without Rudy Gobert, but then
Hmm.
still 2 games on your home court, it is not
Yeah.
boding well for that series.
Yeah.
Because
It's
now
a must-win game.
it is a must win
Yeah.
game, right? Because now
It
you're
is a
forced to
must-win
now
game,
go
right? Because
back
now
to
you're
back
forced
on
to
the
now
road
go
and get
back
a
to back
W
on the
in
road
their
and get a
arena.
W in their
That
arena.
it's very hard to
It is
do that. I
very
don't
hard to
care
do
what
that. I don't
team
care what
is
team
you're playing
you're
across,
playing
right?
across, right?
So
So
listen,
listen,
this is gonna
this is going to
be
be
a
a
very good
very good
series,
series.
bro. For me, it's bittersweet, right? Because this is an amazing series. It's going to be an amazing series. But I just wish it was the Western Conference Final, right? Because in my opinion, these two teams are the best teams out west. And listen, we're going to see it in the series.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like I said, out of all the round two matchups, this one is definitely the one, the key one. Like I said, because it's probably and most likely, I'm gonna be honest. Like obviously, I'm a Mavs fan, right? And we're still in the playoffs, right? But like I said, these two teams they've just been going at it the whole season,
Mm-hmm.
from first regular season to now in the playoffs, right? And so, obviously, like whoever wins out this series is probably the favorite to like probably go to the finals, right? So it's definitely gonna be interesting how it works out later down the
Mm-hmm.
line.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, I guess to kind of hit on these series that kind of wrapped up. So let's start with the Pacers Bucks. Indiana closes out the series. They win.
Yep.
They win in 6-4-2. Final score was 98 to 120. On the Bucks side, we had Bobby Portis gave us. Gave them 20 points, 15 rebounds. Brooke Lopez 20 points, 5 rebounds. Damian Lillard 28 points. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 12 from three. And then overall, the Bucks shot 21 for 32 from the free throw line. Right, you shot 32 free throws and only converted on 21 of them. That's less than 66%. Like that's bad. And then on top of that, and what is the most alarming stat that I saw, the team shot 7 for 27 from the 3 point line. They shot roughly 26% from three. Like you're not going to be able to win games like that. And that's the thing. It would be one thing if this is a Bucks team that does not have shooters. Like they have shooters, but
Yeah.
almost everyone was having an off night against a team in the Pacers that are very, ironically in the name, they're a very fast paced team. They get up a lot of shots, so you have to be able to beat them and attract me. And as you can see in this series, especially with missing Dame for I believe a game or two, and obviously Giannis not playing a single minute, they just didn't have enough, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you know, it's funny, right? Because usually when I write down my stats, it's usually the best players on each team. But when I look at
Yeah.
the Pacers, man, you got Obi Toppin, 21
Yep.
points and 8 rebounds in 24 minutes. T.J. McConnell,
Mm.
man, 20 points,
Woo.
9 assists, 4 steals, man. He only played 23 minutes. He
Mm-hmm.
and in those 23 minutes, he had the highest plus minus of anybody in the game
Yes.
with plus
Yes.
22. Like when you talk about bench players having games that as a fan base you will remember. If I am an Indiana Pacers fan, I will remember TJ McConnell in Game 6, right? Because you need these games. You
Game
at
six
least you need
Connell.
somebody has to step up, and they got two guys to step up for them. Like just those guys alone gave them 41 points off the bench. Like
Yep.
you can't ask for much more, especially when you got Halliburton and Siakam. Like when you have these names, if your bench can produce like this, like I said, 20, 20 points, 9 assists, and 4 steals in 23 minutes. Like
Yeah.
when you talk about filling up the stat sheet, like he had a huge impact on this game and is a key contributor to the winning. If I have to give somebody, player of the game, it has to be TJ McConnell, right? So again, the Pacers bench cooked, and that with that being said, that's the end of the Bucks season.
Yeah. Like before I get into Bucks, right, like when you mentioned TJ McConnell, that was the player that I had circled throughout the whole series because I feel like obviously he's not a superstar. He's not heck. He's not even an all star, right? He's a bench player. He's a role player, right? And I feel like these role players, you need to get some more love because I feel like, in my opinion, even though you got the Halliburtons of the world, you got the Miles Turners of the world, or even have the Siakams of the world, right? But I think, in my opinion, the key player and the most valuable player throughout this series was TJ McConnell because what he was offered when he was in the as a bench player coming off the bench, coming in, or when they had the I think game 2 or game 3, I forgot what game it was, but he actually started. They made an adjustment where he actually started, right? And honestly, I don't think you see that from many bench players where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna take my starting center Miles Turner off the bench and plug in a guard who's like what 6'3", 6'2", or even shorter than that, honestly, right? But you talk about a guy who's always willing to fight for like everything, right? No matter how small he is, he's always going to fight on the defensive end, and he's going to get it done on the offensive end. I mean, he's a former Sixer, so like I mean, I'm sure that yourself from his old playing days there, right? And like I'm always been a big fan of TJ McConnell's game because like he's always had to work hard for everything, right? So I just wanted
Mhm.
to highlight that. But shifting sides to the Bucks, it's just very unfortunate, right? Coming into the season, I think everybody just looking forward to that Giannis and Dame, pairing, right? Where it's like just like, whoa, Dame is actually going to a place where he doesn't have to be the number one option. He can like actually have another guy that's on his level and obviously even better than him, right? And so it's sad that we didn't get to see that in the playoffs per se. And
Mhm.
obviously they're trying to still work it out during like the regular season, right? But it's like one of those series where it's like, or even playoffs in general, where it's like who knows? It's like what ifs type of thing,
Mhm.
right? Just because we all know, I'm pretty sure if Giannis is playing this series healthy, this would be over in 5 or even 4. It could be a sweep because that's the type of player Giannis is, man.
Mhm.
But when you don't have that guy there, and it's like you got to get the scoring from somewhere else, other
Mhm.
guys got to step up. And we all know that Bobby Portis and Chris Middleton and Patrick Beverly, even, right? They stepped up in like the elimination game they had in game 5, right? They
Mhm.
stepped up, but then in game 6 they just had a stinker, right?
Yep.
Chris Middleton shot very very bad, and it's not only him, but it's like everybody else. But you talking about a guy in Chris Middleton, where it's like, where he's getting paid the bag, he's probably most likely like the first or second option depending on how Dame's health is,
Mhm.
right? And it's like if he's not showing up, and it just sets a bad tone for everybody else, right? And so it's just very unfortunate for the Bucks. But it is what it is. You got to keep moving forward. But they'll be fine. They'll come in next year, better than ever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, it's hard to win any series, when you don't have your best player, let alone with that player is a top two player in the league, right?
Yeah.
So that shows the level of impact he has league wide. But, you know, Doc Rivers strikes again. So moving on to Cavs Magic, right? A lot of people were talking about this series in a negative way. This series is
Yeah.
boring. These are two bad teams.
Not us.
But I tried to tell folks, right? Like, listen, this is going seven. Like, a lot of people, I feel as though, and maybe the Cavs themselves, right? They probably won't admit it, but maybe they believe that you know the Orlando Magic, were just going to be, just walk through them. That was not
Yeah.
going to happen. Like I said from my prediction, I had the
Hmm.
Cavs winning in seven. I felt as though it was that close, right? Both of these teams had the seeding and had the win loss record for a reason, right? They're two very solid playoff teams. So I figured they were very, very close. They played pretty similar basketball. Um,
Yeah.
but to read off the stats, right? Like I said, Cavs winning seven. They win game seven. Score was 94 to 106.
Hmm.
Paolo Banchero, he showed up. 38 points, 16 rebounds. He had four stocks. He shot 15 for 18 from the free throw line. Someone who didn't show up was Franz Wagner, man. 6 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot 1 for 15. He shot 0 for 5 from the 3 point line, right? You can't have your second best player in a game seven
Yeah.
give you that. I don't
Hmm.
care if you have the fucking I don't even know fucking Superman as your number one option. If your second option is giving you this type of production, especially again in the playoffs where every team that makes the playoffs, newsflash, is a good team. You're not going to be
Hmm.
good teams with that level of production. And
Yeah.
like I've been urging the entire series, I wanted Paolo to be more aggressive, and that's exactly what he was, right? And to kind of take a step out of this series, it just makes me excited to see the future of Paolo Banchero as a player because I feel like
Mm.
this was kind of similar to Anthony Edwards of last year, right? Where you
Hmm.
kind of get that taste of the playoffs and it's addictive, right? But as you can see in a game seven, he can give you damn near 40 and 20, right? Where he
Hmm.
really just says, "No, I'm taking this game over. I'm trying to will my team to a win."
Yeah.
Seeing that out of him, that he definitely gained a fan in me. Um, and again, from just Apollo and a Magic standpoint, it was an amazing season, man.
Yes.
Right, like especially compared to the expectations that many had on this team. So moving
Hmm.
forward, right, now that they kind of know what they need, like to kind of get to that next level, it's going to be very exciting to see next season. Um, but on the winning side, Donovan Mitchell, 39 points, 9 rebounds,
Mm.
5 assists. He also shot crazy from the free throw line, 15 for 17. And an unsung hero, right? I know everybody's talking about Donovan Mitchell, everybody's talking about Paolo Banchero, but an unsung hero for the Cavs' entire playoff run has been Evan
Yep.
Mobley, man.
Yes.
11 points, 16 rebounds, right? 5 blocks. Like he is playing on a different level defensively, and I feel like again for a lot of players, being a stopper on the defensive side is a thankless job, right?
Yes.
Nobody really talks about it, right? If you're not scoring 40, nobody cares. But listen, I'm
Hmm.
here to give Evan Mobley his flowers, right? Because again, if it wasn't for that alien motherfucker out in San Antonio, Evan Mobley would be the best young defender in the game, right? Like
Yeah.
when you talk about the best defensive prospects that we've seen, Evan Mobley's name is fucking up there, bro. Like coming out of the draft, we knew exactly what he was. You knew you were gonna get an all NBA defensive level player, right? And he has lived up to that times 10, right? It would not surprise me if by the end of his career he's a multiple time defensive player of the year award winner. I feel like he has that level of impact on defense and he's that fucking good. Um, all I can say and what I've been saying since the rookie season, if he kind of gets that aggressiveness in terms of the on the offensive side, the league better watch
Hmm.
out, right? But with that being said, I guess listen, they are matching up against, I believe, Boston.
Yeah,
So they
that's a tough one.
we'll talk about that
Yeah,
later.
yeah, just to piggyback off of you real quick, like Mobley. I mean, we talked before, on and off the pod about how much like seeing Mobley's game being shown to the entire world, right? Where it's like, he had a game-saving block,
Mhm,
right? He's had multiple blocks in crucial situation, crunch time. I'm talking about like 3 minutes left in the in the game and stuff like that. And it's just it just goes to show how much he's such a force, so much he has to do in a sense. Like Jared Allen, he hasn't been playing. I don't think the past couple games or so because he's been having like a nagging injury,
mhm,
right? And so it's been it's good to see that he's he's stepping up to the plate. He's like, yo, Jared Allen's not here. It's all right. I'm here, and I'm gonna get the dirty work done, right? And stuff like that doesn't really get appreciated as much as like you said. But this podcast, we tell it how it is. We're gonna give
mhm.
you praise when you're doing good, and we're just gonna like tell it how it is if you're not doing good, right? And speaking about when the good is good, me, ever since like near the beginning of the we started this podcast, especially when we get started doing basketball videos, one of the things I've said is like I've been always on the Magic train, and you guys, all the Magic fans, has been supporting us on Instagram and TikTok, whatever, right? You guys love to see it because the national media, they're just not going to talk about the Magic, right? But I feel like if I was a Magic fan, just seeing people actually recognizing what we're actually doing and showing that like we're a young team and like obviously you got the Thunder as the number one seed, right? But
Mhm.
I also got to talk about the Magic, who's the top four seed, and at one point could have actually had the second seed, which would have been crazy, right? And so it just goes to show the evolution that this team has taken with like with Suggs, coming along, with Cole Anthony coming along, and of course Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero, of course, right? Like there's a reason why for me that like when we made our All NBA prediction, I had actually had Paulo in my third team all NBA, right? And so, it just goes to show that, he has been as advertised ever since coming
Mhm.
out the draft, right? And honestly, that's what you want. That's what you want as a franchise when you drafted the top three, whatever. Because sometimes in this NBA draft nowadays, it's just so many uncertainties,
Yeah.
so many, right? So you never know if you might have thought one thing, but after the draft, who knows? Who knows if it was the right pick or not,
Mhm.
right? But the Magic, like you said, great freaking season, man. Great fucking season. And honestly, it's only up from here, right? And I think the
Mhm.
one thing that they need to get is like obviously some shooting, because golly, they need some shooting, right? And hey, I got the perfect player for them. Yo, Tim Hardaway. I know they want Tim Hardaway. You feel me? Reunite him back into the Magic. Did he play the Magic with? I think his dad did, or something like that. Or
Maybe. And
I don't know. I don't know. Send his ass to the Magic. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
As soon as that,
he's gonna ball out there. Like Hardaway. I know he's injured right now. Please stay injured. Like he's just don't mess with the flow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We'll get that a little bit later, but Tim Hardaway, it's okay. You're going to the Magic. You're gonna do big things. Probably be the number one option.
um, but
With that
yeah.
said,
Moving along. So I feel like I've gotten to a good space mentally to talk about this, right? So we
oh,
have
okay.
Knicks Sixers, right? The Knicks win in Game 6. Final score was 118 to 115. On the Knicks side, Jalen Brunson 41 points, 12 assists, shot 12 for 16 from the 3 point line. Big threes and free throws in the clutch in the fourth quarter, man. Like really is the definition of a closer. Put this fucking series away. Um, Dante DiVincenzo, 23 points, 7 assists, 5 stocks. He shot 5 for 9 from the 3 point line. OG
Mm-hmm.
Ananobi, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 stocks. He had that huge dunk on Joel Embiid, right? That really
Mm-hmm.
was a momentum changer. Josh Hart, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. He shot 3 for 5 from the 3 point line, and he had 6 offensive rebounds. Like this team, right? Because I said in my prediction, I was like, well, Julius Randle being down, but to be honest, bro, like they almost play better without him. Like
Yes.
they found this formula, they found this synergy, right? Where the ball is moving, people are flying around, people are going for loose balls, people are, the energy is so much different without Julius Randle, where
Mm-hmm.
it'll be definitely interesting in this all season, right? Depending on how their, the final of their season goes, what they do going into next season, right? Is Julius Randle now available, right? Is he moved in the chip? There's been a lot of talks about a Devin Booker coming to New
Mm-hmm.
York, and I feel like a trade package centered around Julius Randle, and some other pieces could get that done. But to stick with this series, man, like all these guys have just been balling the entire series, right?
Yeah.
Again, Jalen Brunson. Like when you talk about the best players of this playoffs or people that have been really going off, it's a neck and neck race between him and out west, man. These
Yep.
two guys have been hooping. Every single time the game got close, Jalen Brunson would hit a shot. Like I remember
Yeah.
I was watching the game with one of my homies and I was literally like, you know, like I think we just hit a three or something. He was dribbling the ball down. I was like, he's gonna hit it. He's gonna shoot a fucking three. He's gonna hit it. And that's exactly what he did. Like he is playing on a whole nother level right now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Josh Hart been doing the dirty work, has been hitting threes out of his ass. Like he has
Mm-hmm.
been playing at a whole different level. Same thing with Dante DiVincenzo. Like it's so crazy, right? Because it's almost every single team that's in the playoffs, especially the teams that went home, they had
Yeah.
a chance to get Dante DiVincenzo, right?
Yeah.
He was there. He was available. The Knicks did not give up very much to get him. And if
Mm-hmm.
you think back to it, right, when they talk about, the RJ Barrett trade, right, the Emmanuel Quickly trade, a lot of
Mm.
those trades, like, yes, they got OG and Anunoby back, but a big part of that trade was getting Dante DiVincenzo the ball more. And
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, this is the fruits of that trade, right? Switching the Philly side, Joel Embiid, 39 points, 13 rebounds, shot 13 for 13 from the free throw line, put the team on his back, right? Obviously
Yeah.
he's been banged up. But listen, he was a man possessed and he was a man that did not want to go home, right? Buddy Hield, like, oh man, 20 points. He shot 6 for 9 from three off the bench
Yeah. On
in
one.
21 minutes, right? Like when you talk about a player that will be traded for him, it was a little underwhelming, right? The level of play that he was playing at, but he showed up in this game, and I feel as though at the very least by this performance, he has earned himself a way onto our team next year. I don't care how it's done. Um, Tyrese Maxey, right? We talked about in the last game he was going crazy. In this one,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, he just ran out of gas. He had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 6 for 18 from the field, one
Mm-hmm.
for six from three. And I believe at one point he was shooting like 1 for 10 from the field, right? He was
Yes. Oh my gosh.
struggling
Yeah.
to get anything off. Whether it was in the paint, whether it was a jumper, it just was not falling for him. Kelly Oubre, 17 points, 5 rebounds. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say this, and I want to put it in video form. I apologize, right? Because when we first signed Kelly Oubre, I was adamantly against it. I hated the
Mm.
move,
Interesting.
everything. Like somebody out there can attest to it. I was not a big fan of this move, but man, I've loved him in a Sixers uniform. Again, gritty, plays his role right, because that was the thing I always questioned was, I saw him as an inefficient shot chucker. I saw him as a flashy guy, but
Mm-hmm.
now, I mean, he's kept his flash, but I always question, okay, well, how is this going to work on a winning team, right? Like, is he
Mm.
going to try to play hero ball or nope? He absolutely found his role. He played it to a T. And again, all respect in the world to Kelly Oubre. And again, I apologize for my earlier takes this season. Nicholas Batum off the bench, 16 points, 7 rebounds. He shot 3 for 5 from three. Played amazing defense.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I feel as though this game and this series probably would have went a little different if he got more minutes than the next motherfucker I'm gonna talk about next. Tobias fucking Harris. Listen, man, since you've come to the Sixers and since that Jimmy trade, I have been your number one fan. I have been your number one advocate of trying to get these motherfuckers off your back. I can no longer defend you, bro. You played 29 minutes, shot 2 shots, missed fucking both of them. You had 0 points, bro. Like, and I don't want to say that he played a bad game because there was a lot of times where he made the pass to a Buddy Hield that hits a corner three, right? He made the pass to a driving Nicholas Batum, like things like that. Where I won't necessarily say he had zero impact on his game, but when you talk about you're supposed to be our third best player, you're supposed to be our third option. There should be no reason why, with our season on the line, you have 0 fucking points. There should be no reason why on our season on the line, even if it wasn't on the line, why the fuck are you only taking 2 shots? And that doesn't come down to coaching. That because I'm sure Nick Nurse, if I asked him right now, was the game plan for Toby to take 2 shots, he was like, fuck no, right? So I don't want to put this loss on one person because I mean at the end of the day we lost by 3, right? A lot of things, if they went a different way, we would have won this game. Like I said, mentioned Maxi, but at the end of the day, bro, like with this type of play, it's just one of those things that like when people are talking about moving on in the off season, like I get it, right? Especially if he's talking some crazy numbers, man. Like, unfortunately, this is not the way I wanted the Tobias Harris experience in Philly to end. But it's like he had a quote, right, where he said, for a lot of Sixers fans, they trade me for a crumble cookie. Bro, I don't think we would get that back in return, bro. I really don't think so. Well, but, I'll let you have your piece.
Yeah, man. Like talking about it was a very great, it was a very interesting game, to say very least. From especially from like an outsider view, not being a Sixers fan or or a Knicks fan, right? And so it's like I was watching it actually. I was live streaming it with like a couple of my friends from from college, and you know, well, obviously a few of my most of the friends that I had on there were Sixers fan, right? And they were just giving like game dialogue throughout the whole way. And the first quarter, let's talk about the first quarter, dog. The first quarter that was very atrocious from the Sixers, right? And then second quarter, it's like they flipped the scripts. They flipped the scripts, right? I think Sixers headed into like the halftime. I think either with the lead or was down by a little bit. I'm not sure what was the exact halftime score, but it was very close. Let's just say that was very close, right? And then Sixers they pulled away just a little bit, a teeny bit with a lead in the third quarter, right? But then what happens in the fourth quarter? It's another collapse. It's another collapse where Brunson. We all know Brunson. Like after stopping, like you're not gonna stop this man after just 2 games in the series. First 2 games, it's like all right, you know what? Let me take a couple of days off. Well, I'm coming back home. Or actually, rather, I'm going to Philly, and like, let's see, let's rock, right? And so, he's been on one ever since Game 3, right? And so coming to this game, who's going to get the ball in the fourth quarter, and that's Jalen Brunson. He's going to find a way to get his shots, no matter how ugly it is, no matter how good it is, right? He just fights, and that's just the Villa. I think that's just the Villanova like mentality. You got the 3 main guys from that one team that won the championship. Not only Brunson but Josh Hart and Dante, right? The 3 main guys there from that roster, and so they all showed up in multiple ways. Josh Hart more so on the defensive end and rebounding and stuff like that, and Dante just shooting the heck out of the ball, especially early on in the game where he had. It's like he could not miss at all from three, right? And so you look from other guys on the Sixers, everybody stepped up like you said, except for Tobias Harris. And I know that we always make the joke on the pod or even off the pod about Tobias Harris, the best player on the Sixers. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, at some point, like something's got to give, and it's like when your third option is giving you 0 points and you guys lost by 3, that says a lot. Because even if he just averages his series average, which is still very low, that still could have gave you some points. You know what I'm saying? Right? And so 0 shots. I mean, not 0 points, but only 2 shot attempts. it's just being too passive, very passive, right? Where you like you got the man, you got a smaller man back down, and you could have, easy hook shot or something like that, right? But no, you just decided to pass it back out and waste more shot clock, right? And it's a worse shot, right? And we can go on and on about Tobias Harris, and we always knew that Tobias Harris is not really going to do anything. I mean, if you watch the regular season, right? But when he gets to this point, it's just very, very like a head scratcher per se, where it's like we know he can be ass, but like this ass, come on, 0 points. Like I don't care how much good defense you're given, when you get 0 points on offense, that's like playing 4v6, honestly, because like you're not contributing on the offense at all, right? And so there's that, and I think the one last thing I want to say about the whole thing is that the thing about Maxi, like obviously, I'm not here to slander Maxi at all, honestly, right? Obviously, he's still a young player. It's like his second, maybe third playoff series or something like that. I think it's probably second, but he struggled. There's no other way to put it, right? It's something he's got to learn. Um, he said it himself that he just got to do better, right? Like you said, 1 of 10 heading into the fourth quarter. He only had 3 points heading into the 3 or 4 points heading into the fourth quarter, and then he ended up with 17 points.
Mhm.
He had a huge fourth quarter, but it was still too little, too late. You know, and it's like throughout the whole game, like all my friends were like, "Where's Maxi? Where's Maxi?" Right? And so it's like because like you've seen that he's been dominating every single game, but like this game, it's just the shots weren't hitting. He you could debate that he wasn't getting some of the foul calls that he should have gotten, but that's just how it is. And as a young guy in the league, I feel like he's still just searching to find his game and stuff like that. Where it's like obviously his game's not polished yet, but you can see like obviously the game before that where he went off for like 47 or
Mhm.
50 points or almost damn near 50 points, right? And so you see the right instances of his future for sure. But this is something that he just got to take on his chin and just work on in the off season for sure, right? But at the end of the day, MB wasn't healthy, and MB is doing this with being not 100%,
Mhm.
right? So it goes to show like what if he was, right? It's a lot of what ifs in this thing, but at the end of the day, Knicks got took the series, and shout out to them. Knicks fans are up. They might be talking a little too crazy, but it's warranted. It's the Knicks fans. It's always Knicks.
Yeah, man. Like it's something that KD said, right? When you win, you can talk, right? So
Yeah,
again, all respect to the New York Knicks, and they're off to a round two. They got a tough a matchup with Indiana, but you know I believe last but not least, let's talk about your team, man. Right? You guys get it done, right? So
yeah. I mean, talk about the last two games of that series, man. Where man, oh man, like Lucas said in the press conference in Game Five, where the series is tied 2-2 already, and we're coming back to Clippers to the LA, all right, Crypto Arena, and he said that I feel like I've been letting down Kyrie this whole series, right? He hasn't been playing as well as he should have been, should be playing, right? And so, you know, he stepped up. Let's just say that he stepped up. 35 points, 35 points in a big game, and Kyrie has always been like this, and I find it very interesting because like Kyrie is in that stage where he's kind of becoming a mentor, right? He's becoming a wiser player, and sharing his knowledge to Luca is like, you know what? I'm gonna be a little bit more passive in the first half and let you, get into a rhythm. But then once you get into a rhythm, that's when I take over in the second half and the third quarter. It's like, okay, that means that where when we head in the fourth quarter, we both are in a rhythm, right? And it's like we're both hot, right? And so it's hard for a defense to just attack that. And you're going into game six. If you guys did not see that highlight reel that Kyrie had in the corner when he put a move on PJ Tucker and he hit that on an and one play, hitting a three on a 4 point play, that man Kyrie is special, man. Like Like he like obviously I think he's going down as like one of the greatest ball handlers and scorers of all time. There's no
Hmm.
doubt about it, right? And so, and honestly, I could go all day about the offense that they both give, but I want to talk about the defense cuz this something's got to be said. Like and like I said, Kai, he loves stats, man. He loves him some stats. So I'm provide him some stats, man. And you know, here's so we got I got here when Kyrie and Luca are primary defenders. So of the certain people, when Luca is the primary defender on any player on the Clippers, they have anywhere from 38% to 40% shooting. Kyrie, when he's the primary ball defender, he's anywhere from 36 to 39% shooting. And it just goes to show that like when your two guards that are usually known for offense is actually playing very good defense, then it says something, right? And it was a moment in the point of the series where it was like early on in the series, so like game 3, game 2, or something like that. We won a couple games right there, game 2, game 3, where Luca told the bench, he told our assistant coach and Jason Kidd to like, yo, stop sending a double team. I'm gonna handle it myself. And that kind of spoke to me. That kind of realized like, oh, this man is like, it's like, no, I can handle it. Let me do my thing.
Hmm.
Right. And that's like in all your offseason work, you didn't come here just to have your coaches tell you not to do something that you don't want to do. Right. You work on the offseason on defense, we're gonna find out, right? And Luca, he took initiative in saying, no, stay over there because if you bring a double team, he's going to leave a man open, and we're just going to get, it's a lot of players shuffling, right? And Luca, it just allows us to play a different type of defense where we can play ISO. It's like if you want to ISO Luca, I'm a little bit more confident now because he's shown me that he can be a good defender, right? And me, or not even great defender, just like above average. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think he has the capabilities to, as he's shown in the playoffs, where I don't think he could be a much better defender that he has in the past, and it's definitely shown, and it's something that people don't really talk about because we all know about Luca about the scoring on the offensive end. People saying, oh, sometimes like fat shaming him, like, oh, he's too big or he's not in shape and stuff like
Hmm.
that, right? But everything in this playoff so far has shown me a different side where he's showing me the defensive capabilities that he has, and I think that's what we need in order to like carry on to future series. And got one coming up against the Thunder, which we will talk about very, very soon. But switching over to the Clippers side, it's very, very confusing. I watched this video where they talked about James Harden, where he just does not show up in closing moments, in the sense that like he might be having good games in between the before it gets to like a closing game or elimination game, something like that, and he just not show up in those 2 games, right? He shot very inefficient. He's he's making turnovers, and he's just not playing, good basketball. Paul George, on the other hand, I just feel bad for him, honestly, at this point. Where it's like I don't really blame him as much, and it's like when you come to a Clippers team, obviously you don't predict injuries and stuff like that, but it's like again, Kawhi is not there. Like the best player on that team is still not there again,
Hmm.
right? And he's been there to just shoulder all the blame, right? And everything is just all the work and everything, all the criticism and stuff like that. And I just feel bad for him, honestly, at this point, because obviously he's known to have playoff choke moments and everything, right? But throughout the series I think he played all right. I think he played all right. I'm gonna be honest, right? But I think their best player was not even not it wasn't even Paul George or Harden. It was Zubac. Funny enough. Funny enough, it was their center, and he was giving us some work. He was putting in work against us, but we eventually found a way to like just neutralize him a little bit here and there, right? But you know, that said, I think coming out this game, even though I'm like very happy with this win, I am also very cautious as well heading to the Thunder game because although we came out with a series win, we also came out with a very big injury that happened to Maxi Kleber. He just, I don't know if you guys saw, but he was going up for a layup and I think it was Coffee. He was sitting there under the rim, and just like I guess Maxi ran into him, and then he fell on the ground and basically dislocated his whole shoulder, and but he somehow shot free throws. I don't know how you do that if you have a dislocated shoulder, but no,
Hmm.
shout out to him. But it just goes to show that well, Maxi Kleber, he's been great. He's a great role player for us. There's a reason why we're allowed to play the defensive rotation we have, because we have three different bigs that do three different things.
Hmm.
Right? It's kind of similar to the Timberwolves in a sense, where like they all have three bigs, but they all do different things in a sense. It's obviously not to that high capabilities, but it still works for us at least,
Hmm.
right? And so not having Maxi there, it's going to be very tough because he's out. I'm pretty sure he's out almost for the whole playoffs. We'll see if he's even there if we make it to the finals. I'm not sure, right? So that's another thing that just to monitor. But that said, I know I've joked around about Tim Hardaway, and stuff like that a lot. But in all seriousness, when one player goes down, there's another roster spot for somebody to step up, right? And if Tim Hardaway wants to regain people's trust, especially my trust, this is the perfect series for him,
Hmm.
right? Where I think it's going to be a lot of guard play, a lot of guard and wing play, right? Where like there's going to be moments where you got to get hot. You got to be a spark off the bench, right? And I think Hardaway is the perfect guy for that. And we all know when he's hot, he's hot.
Hmm.
But when he's cold, he's very cold, right? And that just comes with the territory with a guy like Tim Hardaway, right? But this is a series that could be, honestly, I think it could be his series to to take over. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. Right. I'll just touch on, like you said. I love me some stats. So obviously Dallas wins in six, 4-2. Final score 101 to 114. On the Clipper side, Paul George 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 6 for 18. Shot 2 for 10 from the 3 point line. James Harden 16 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists. Shot 5 for 16, 0 for 6 from the 3 point line. Like you just said, when you talk about the trend of James Harden not showing up in closeout games, that kind of adds some fuel to that narrative. Like you said, Zubats in terms of on the Clippers side, definitely the player of the game. 17 points, 11 rebounds. Norman Powell off the bench, giving him
Yep.
20. But I feel like, at least from the Clippers side, the moral of the story, besides obviously not having your best player for 90% of the series, um, the team shot 8 for 31 from the 3 point line. That's 25%. You know, again, if you're in a playoff game, you're not going to be winning many games shooting that terribly from the 3 point line. Kyrie, 30 points, 6 rebounds, 4 stocks. So when you talk about the defense, 4 stocks.
Hmm.
Shot 5 for 9 from the 3 point line. It's not. I feel like it's not even a hot take to say Kyrie was the best player in this series, right?
Oh yes, 100%.
On both sides of the ball, he has been the best player, whether Clipper, right, the Mav, and it's crazy, right? Because if you really went down the list before this series, he might have been third best player, fourth best player, maybe, but he was absolutely lights out from start to finish of the series, and
Hmm.
when a lot of people were questioning, what he had left in the tank, if he could contribute to winning, you can see it, right? And you think about it, right? We talk about that Nets big three. Kyrie's the only one that's having success outside of that. So, you
Yep.
know, obviously Luca, 28 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists. Not the greatest game from him, right? He has
It's not.
struggled this
Yeah.
series, especially offensively. Shot 1 for 10 for the 3 point line and had 5 turnovers.
Hmm.
PJ Washington, 14 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 4 for 8 from the 3 point line.
Crazy.
This series, and like you said, I agree. A great series, especially being able to get out of this and not have it go to 7. Right, really just shut the door. Um, but the thing that alarms me going into the next series is, if I'm being honest, is Luca, right? Which I never thought I would say. because he could not play like this against the Thunder, right? He has to be the best player on the court for the Mavs to get out of that series. It cannot be Kyrie again. Don't get me wrong, Kyrie can still ball do his thing, but Luka has to match that energy, especially on the offensive side, right? Because like we just said, it's going to be a lot of guard play. It's going to be a lot of tough shot making because the OKC Thunder are one of, if not the best defense this season. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they have the best defensive rate in an entire playoffs this year. So they play defense, right? So it's
Mhm.
gonna be seen of yo, Luca, I need you to be playoff Luca, right? If they outside of this series, he has been in every single game, right? So again, it worries me a little bit, right? Because I mean, Luca's shown me enough to where I'm not losing sleep over it. But it will
Mhm.
be something to be seen of okay, if Luca's able to match what Kyrie was doing in round one, and if Kyrie can stay consistent, right? Just
Mhm.
because Luca is now going off does not mean now you take a back seat. I need you to stay on
Right.
that same level, right? Because if these
Mhm.
two guys are playing at that level, I don't think there's many teams in the entire association that can beat them. But again,
Mhm.
this is going to be a tough matchup coming up. But I mean, I feel like with that being said, that's a perfect segue into talking about these round two matchups and kind of giving our predictions. So while we're on the topic of OKC Mavs, right? Um, if I'm gonna give my prediction, uh, I predict in 7 games, 'cause I believe this series is gonna go to 7. Um, I feel like the Mavs pull it out. I think the Mavs win in 7 games. These are two very good teams, very tough teams. You got tough shot making on both sides. You got now with the additions that the Mavs have, they have size, right? So, I think this will be a very good series. And yeah, I got the Mavs winning in 7.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Mavs fan. I got the Luka jersey on. You know what I'm saying? And over these last couple of days, I did have to think about like how are we going to approach this game, how are we going to approach the series rather, and you know, in my heart of hearts, I obviously I had the Mavs winning, but I have us winning not 7 but 6, and and I just think, in my opinion, that just watching just like Luca throughout the whole season and everything, it's like obviously he has a knee injury and stuff like that. That's no excuse, obviously, but he is the best player in this series. He is. There's no question. I don't care what anybody says about Shea. I know he has an MVP type of season and everything, right? But we're gonna find out who's the real MVP. We're definitely gonna find out, right? And am I saying this just to have smoke? Sure, why not? Why not? I've said that about the Clippers and anything, right? But like I said, I got the Mavs in 6, and the Thunder have a great team. I'm not knocking that off, right? But I think that we have more experience. Um, just in general, we have more experience and we have the best player. And I just think our best player versus their best player. If I had to choose who I trust more, just from the resume purely alone, I just think Luka is going to definitely show up. Like I said, it's a guard. It's going to be a guard series, so it's going to be good, interesting how it goes. Mavs they play tomorrow actually, so
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting how they just go at it.
Yeah. Um, so you got Mavs in 6, I got Mavs in 7. So switching back to the East, Knicks, Indiana. Uh, I have the Knicks winning in 5.
Mm.
I think the Knicks, the Indiana Pacers don't match up well at all with the Knicks.
Hmm.
Indiana doesn't play defense.
Hmm.
And the Knicks are all about defense. So I just feel like Jalen Brunson is going to have a field day in this series. They don't have a single person that can match up with Jalen Brunson. So, again, just from a matchup standpoint, that's a very bad matchup. The Knicks have bodies to throw at Pascal
Hmm.
Siakam. They have bodies, to throw at, Obi Toppin or whatever, right? So, I, could it go to 6? Yeah, I think it's closer to 5 games than 7. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna just settle on Knicks in 5.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Spot on. I got the Knicks winning against the Pacers in 5 as well. Like you said, like I just don't see the Knicks. a Pacers team rather that can match the intensity of the Knicks, especially on a defensive end because they are some dogs, right? And you know, the Knicks, for what I've seen against the Sixers, who is also a hard fighting team, because the thing about the Knicks is that they can beat you in so many different types of ways. But then when I look at the Pacers, there's only so like very few ways that they can win,
Hmm.
right? And that's just purely alone on offense. It's nothing about the defensive end, right? And it's unfortunate, right? That's not their team, and and so it's going to be interesting how they handle it. And I think I just checked the score, and the Knicks they won the game, so that's the little news right there that they are up 1-0. So I just do think that they're going to take it up in five.
Yeah. Um, you know, going back out west, Wolves Nuggets. Obviously, we talked about game one, but I have the Nugs winning in six. Um,
Mm.
I just think they're the better team.
Mm-hmm.
Defending champs, they have the pedigree. So I definitely trust them, even with losing the game at home. Like
Mm.
they're a team that's good enough to win a game on the road, right? I believe that they're going to be able to win one in Minnesota,
Mm.
and even the series, right? So I got them in six. I think it's going to be a tough six. I don't think it's going to be like a lopsided. I don't
Mm.
think there's going to be any games, any blowout games. I think it's going to come down to clutch shots in the fourth, and
Yeah.
who is going to be able to step up to the plate. And I think you know Jokic is arguably the best player in the world right now, so it's
Yeah.
hard to bet against them.
Reigning MVP. Yeah, and
Well,
there's a
Embiid's the
reason
rated
why.
MVP.
Yeah. I'm just kidding, but no, Jokic. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough being a team that is so well. It's like it's hard to beat a team that's a well-oiled machine. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Right? Like I feel like in this era, if they're able to win another chip, a back-to-back championships, right? I feel like from what I've seen, just my eyes, just the eye test, they could be our version of like the Spurs in a sense of like the style of basketball where
Hmm.
you get the ball, you get the ball type of thing. It's a lot of ball movement. It's a
Yes.
lot of carelessness. It's all business. It's no egos,
Hmm.
right? And I just haven't seen something like that before, right? And the Nuggets, I do have the Nuggets also winning, but instead of six, I got them winning in seven.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a very interesting series. I think Ant he's going to show the world who he is, man, and he has throughout this whole playoff series, playoffs in general,
Hmm.
right? He's been on one, and so if he's and who knows, would I be surprised that the Wolves win? I'll be honest, I wouldn't. I would not
Hmm.
be surprised because they are that good of a team, man. They are that good of a team, and Ant is that good of a player.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could definitely see it going seven. Like I said, I believe these are the two best teams in the
Yeah.
Western Conference. So
Mhm.
it would definitely not surprise me if Minnesota wins. Um, but the final series, I have the Celtics and Cavs. I'll keep it short and sweet. I have the Celtics winning in six. I think the Cavs were
Hmm.
able to get two games off, but I think ultimately the Celtics pretty much keep a good control over the series, and they go on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. I think like the main thing about the Celtics is that we got to monitor the Porzingis injury. I think he might be out of the second round for right
Yes,
now.
yes.
He is okay. He is. So it's gonna be interesting because Mobley, you already know how he has been playing on the defensive end,
Hmm.
right? But even then, I still think the Celtics are gonna get it in a gentleman's sweep in 5 games. I just think they're just that good. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like when you got 3, 4 guys that are just like on one and like they can get hot at any single time,
Hmm.
and I think at some point, obviously maybe not this series, maybe soon. Jason Tatum, he's got to show up.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, like, obviously, I know that it's spreading the ball around. I know it's like getting teammates involved and stuff like that. But at certain points, you gotta show up in a sense of like, you know, when the game is on the line, where you gotta have it. You guys just gotta take the ball and get everybody move out, get out the way. I'm taking it. I'm going in, and that's the reason why we're still trying. I think the Celtics are still trying to figure out obviously it should be Tatum being the number one option, but it's like, is he really the number one option, or is just whoever's hotter or who's like who's given night? But you know, I obviously Celtics in five easily for me.
Yeah, yeah, man. So with that being said, right, we're what do you guys predict, right? What are your guys' thoughts not only for the first round, but again your predictions for the second? Right? We have a couple games have passed us by, and we're gonna have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
videos obviously still coming up about the second round. So make sure you drop your opinions down in the comment section below of your
Yep.
predictions. Right? Do you agree with anything we said? Do you agree with any of our predictions? Do you think we're crazy? Right? And make sure you drop that down. Like I say in every video, you guys have been always showing us support on all our social medias. We'll definitely have them in the
Mm-hmm.
description below. But with that being said, man, it's No Bullshit Podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yes, sir. Peace.